Hey guys, welcome to another movie review. Today I'm talking about a film that's exclusive to stream on Disney Plus right now. Um, this is a film that's been in development hell, unfortunately, for a long time. It's based on a popular series of books that I personally remember coming out when they were released. I remember people in school were carrying them around. I even had a friend of mine that kind of gave me a detailed synopsis on at least a couple of them. This is the movie Artemis Fowl. This film was directed by Kenneth Branagh, who did, Thor, the most recent Cinderella remake for Disney. Um, Very lovable guy. I mean, this guy's an actor, a director, producer. Um, he's been in a lot of films that I've really liked over the years. Obviously, everybody loves him as Professor Lockhart in the Harry Potter films. A lot of people really like him as Hercule Poirot in the Murder on the Orient Express movie, which he's going to replay again in Death on the Nile, which he's also directing like he did with Murder on the Orient Express. So this is a very lovable guy. So there's a lot of things going into this movie. You know that the books are very popular. We have a very lovable person who's an actor and a director who's directing this movie. There's a lot of things going into the movie that I was really anticipating, but let's give you a brief synopsis here of what Artemis Fowl is about and what I thought of the movie. So overall, guys, Artemis Fowl is a film where it's about a young boy who is a son of a criminal mastermind, and his father is kidnapped, and his father is being held hostage basically by this mysterious figure who needs this artifact that can make you basically make you one of the most powerful beings on planet Earth, so basically this being takes the father because the being thinks that Artemis Fowl the second, who's the son, could basically get the artifact for them and you know give them the father's life as a result for the reward of this artifact. So throughout the course of this film, Artemis Fowl is learning things about his dad that he didn't know about before, things in the house that have like hidden layers and hidden weapons, and that there's fairies and magic and all this stuff that he didn't know existed before. And so, through the help of his butler, who, believe it or not, doesn't like to be called a butler, he has to rescue his father with also the help of a fairy girl that will also help him track down the father and things like that. And that's over the course of the film, Artemis Fowl. So overall, guys, unfortunately, this review is not going to be a positive one. Artemis Fowl, unfortunately, is a very bad movie. It's really not well made at all. Though I love Kenneth Branagh like a lot of people do, this unfortunately is not one of his better directorial efforts. You can tell this film was in development hell and that they did not know what to do with it. You can definitely see why this film was postponed so many times. It was going to come out last summer. That did not happen. It's supposed to come out this summer. That did not happen due to COVID-19. And obviously now Disney has just kind of given up on it and put it up on Disney Plus recently here in June. And I can see why. This film is just a disaster. It really is not good. Um, there's things about it that are admirable, but unfortunately, the movie itself is just not fun to sit through. There's just a lot of bad things about it. Let's go over some positives and negatives of why this film unfortunately didn't turn out the way it should have. So for my positives of Artemis Fowl, overall, this does have Kenneth Branagh's humor in it. So if you're hoping for kind of his special touch here, there is some moments of levity that definitely are from him. Whether it is the humor, whether it is the butler not being wanting to be called the butler and things like that, even though his last name is Butler. So there's small things like that you can tell Kenneth Branagh put his own special touch on and things like that. So if you're hoping for kind of his own special touch that he does in like Murder on the Orient Express, Thor, Cinderella, there is a little bit of that here. Unfortunately, it's not done in a very good movie, but it is here though, regardless. I also like Josh Gad's character. Yeah, you can tell his voice was done with ADR, and you can tell that they probably enhanced it somehow in post production. But his character was fun. I liked seeing him on screen. I thought he was kind of this lovable dwarf character that clearly isn't accepted by the dwarves because he's of a bigger size and things like that. So I liked seeing his character in this movie. Unfortunately, I would have liked to have seen his character used in a better film with a better screenplay, but I liked his character overall. And I did like the butler character that helps Artemis Fowl II throughout the movie. He seems helpful. He seems likable. He tries to get Artemis out of trouble. He tries to talk Artemis out of things that could basically put his life in danger and things like that. So I like the butler character. Once again, would have liked to have seen him better in a better screenplay and a better film, but I like the character overall. And I will give the film credit. Some of the visual effects are pretty impressive here, whether we are going to a fairy city or a mountain or there's a battle with a giant troll thing of some kind. The visual effects, for the most part, are pretty good. You can definitely tell that if they had more time to work on it or wanted to work on it some more, they probably could have cleaned it up a little bit better. But for the most part, the visual effects are pretty passable in this movie. Now for my negatives. I have a lot. For Artemis Fowl, this film is very directionless. It's a film that you'll be in one completely different place after the other. So scene one and scene two feel very different from one another. There's scenes that feel like they belong in different movies. I kind of don't understand why they went the criminal mastermind here route with this movie. I'm sure that's in the books, but unfortunately in the movie it just feels like this Richie Rich character that has this wealthy father that has a lot of money, and he has a lot of money now as a result. And I didn't really get the impression of criminal mastermind, so to speak. There's just a lot of scenes where it's this young boy in this world of magic, and he interacts with the magic, and he interacts with the people who have magic, and it's very directionless. This film needed a sense of direction, and unfortunately, it simply does not have it. This film also has very bad world building. I probably could tell you almost nothing about the world that this film takes place in, other than there's magic in it, that Artemis Fowl's family is criminal masterminds, or so to speak they are, and that's about it. That's about as far as the world building gets in this movie. Either they didn't do a good job explaining this to me, or they left it all out, or something. But the world building here is very, very bad. One thing that Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings did is, at least when you watch those first installments of those franchises, you kind of get a brief idea of what those worlds are, what some of the spells are, what some of the bad people are, what the do's and do nots do of that world, the things that you should be doing, things you shouldn't. This film doesn't really have any of that. And I was just kind of more confused more than anything else. It's like, okay, the villain's still around. Are they just trying to set up sequels? And the world building here really is not very good. You can definitely tell they were trying to make some type of franchise out of this. It did not work at all. Very bad world building in this, unfortunately. I also thought the plot and the overall mission of the movie was just really not very interesting. There's just so many films where a family member has to rescue another family member, and they have to give the villain of the film some type of artifact to let that family member live. It's just not a very interesting plot or mission for a movie. So maybe it was interesting in the books. Maybe there was something here that really appealed to Disney to get this film off the ground eventually, but as a film, I thought the plot and the overall mission of the lead character was just really not very interesting here in this movie. And overall, the characters here are pretty boring. Like I said, I did like Josh Gad's character. I like the butler guy that helps Artemis throughout the movie, but the fairy girl and the people that kind of show up along the way, this Judi Dench character that's like this fairy leader person, I didn't buy into it. I really was very bored. I felt very sleepy-eyed watching this movie. I couldn't get into the characters. Very, very bad character development here. This film also really doesn't do anything for thieves or magic. So if you're one of those people going to this film expecting this next great heist film or this great magic movie, I can't really see you being very happy because it doesn't do a very good job doing either one of those. There's not enough cool magic stuff to justify the magic stuff, and there's not enough heist/thief stuff to justify the thieves slash criminal mastermind part of the story. If you catch my breath, there's just really nothing for either audience, and I don't really get what the film was trying to do regarding those. So I thought, in as far as making a genre goes for this movie that they're trying to work off of, that would have set up a franchise for this story, I can't see you being very happy with this, just because it does nothing for the thief characters and it does nothing for the magic. So I don't know how this film can make you happy on either of those levels at all. And the film does, for the most part, set up a sequel that we're probably never going to get just because it's up on Disney Plus, and I'm sure they lost a lot of money for this movie because it was intended to get box office revenue, and I think this film costed over $120 million or something crazy like that to make. And I don't know how they're going to get that money back, so therefore I don't know how a sequel is ever going to get made. Yeah, I don't know. I think this whole thing was just unfortunately a big, very big disaster that Kenneth Branagh got involved with. Unfortunately, that he is way too talented for. Um, I think his talents attracted Disney to kind of allow him to make this movie. But I clearly, based off everything here, I don't know if he just didn't know what to do with it, or if Disney didn't like what was going on with it, so they just kind of butchered it in the editing room. I don't know what happened to this movie, but whatever it is, it's a disaster, and I do not recommend seeing this movie. So, Artemis Fowl, I'm going to give it a 5.5 out of 10. I think there's potential in this movie if handled correctly. Like the visual effects were given to the right people clearly. Kenneth Branagh's humor could have definitely made the film even better with a better screenplay. And I like Josh Gad's character in the butler guy, but everything else in this film kind of failed, unfortunately. So very directionless, uninteresting, kind of doesn't really know what audience it wants to attract. Bad world building, you name it, it went wrong with this movie. So Artemis Fowl, 5.5 out of 10. I don't recommend seeing it, even if you get it for free on Disney Plus. I still kind of have a hard time recommending this one.